and welcome to Still Building Podcast. On today's episode, man, we're talking about, do Black lives really matter? We're going to be discussing that and a lot more on today's episode, starting right now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
It's your
right,
man
all right.
Rarifa Black yet again. You know what I'm saying? Black with my mans, you know what I'm saying? Kit Jones, Jack O. Y'all know how we do it. Still Building Podcast, y'all. We here for season 1, episode 5. We talking about a live topic today. You know, we got to get into it, man. Do Black lives really matter? So we're gonna jump right into this topic, man. You know what I'm saying? With the horsemen. So let's ask some questions, man. Let's get to it, man. Let's get to some questions. See what's really to it, fellas. Let's see what's really to it, fellas. So the first thing, Black Lives Matter, right? Very controversial topic, very sensitive topic. You know, what is very important as well when you think about it because it can go into so many different realms. You know, it can also be, beneficial to our people, but at the same time, if it's put into the wrong hands, can be detrimental, right?
Right.
So what are some of the root causes or what can you say about Black Lives Matter? Is that something that we can finally unite as a people? Can our people be united under that Black Lives Matter mantra, that slogan?
Well, uh, I guess we can be united, man, under the slogan. You know what I'm saying? But in my mind, first we have to determine whether it's a movement, it's a state of mind, or what exactly is it, right? So I set out to do a little research, man. I didn't get very far into it because of some other things that came up. But I think once we research what we got, man, find out exactly what we're doing to further this movement, then yeah, you know, if black people can come together at all, we can do it under this movement or any other.
I like how Jack brought the movement, the movement part of it. Um, one thing I like to toss in there, right from the jump is this a movement or is it an idea, ideology, right? Because ultimately the success is based on the individual, not the group. So when we take the term itself, a lot of people identified with the term, not necessarily the movement. I think that is one of the crucial points that we have to always look at is are you embracing the term or the organization? Are you embracing the ideology behind the term Black Lives Matter? Are you embracing the organization that has its issues, right? So we look at like the origin of the organization itself and when it started. And it's all public information, but I'm going to tell you, from my experience, most black people do not support the organization; they support the idea, right? Because an
Right.
organization, oftentimes, it's those personal biases that we have that prevent us from doing that collective thought thing, right? So we can't all rally behind an organization if we have people that had biases against LGBTQ, which most people know by now that BLM was predominantly started by members of that community, right? Um, and again, it's those personal biases that prevent people from going that extra step, right? And then also consider this too. Is there really such thing as everybody coming together to accomplish a goal? again, it's just my observation, my personal life experience that hell no, that don't work, right? Um, and I'm not trying to be, Debbie Downer or, make people think that, yeah, we can't all get along. But ultimately, it boils down to something that we definitely would have said 30 years ago. It boils down to knowledge of self, right? If you
Yeah.
know yourself, then you know where you fit in any predicament, right? So around the same time that the George Floyd thing was reaching its pinnacle, Ice-T and Body Count came out with a song called "No Lives Matter," right? And I would say to our audience, look that song up on YouTube and check out the beginning of the song where he perfectly breaks down, the schism that happens when we say, Black Lives Matter, and then some other human says, well, no, all lives should matter, right? And we go, yeah, but that's taking away from the emphasis right now, which is this is a black life that was taken by the hands of systemic issue that has continued for all of our lives, right? Um, and then recognizing too that there are certain terms that I think, we as individuals have to reframe our alignment or our perception of the term, right? For example, Black Lives Matter, right? And someone saying, well, all lives matter, right? When we take away the colors and the labels placed on people, I've said this several shows now, we just see humans doing human shit, right?
Right.
We have humans doing human shit, right? And everyone pretty much knows that if you don't, I'll say it. Um, People hate things and have difficulties with things they don't understand.
Oh yeah.
So, please understand that you, as people of color, are the world's greatest anomaly, but you're also the world's, majority, right? And there's some myths that should be dispelled just in your personal vocabulary, such as there's no such thing as white supremacy, right?
Right.
What you see displayed as white supremacy is actually white inferiority complex.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that person wearing their emotions on their sleeves, right? They let
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
feelings of feeling inferior, you know, uh, they hide behind flags, they hide behind symbols, they hide behind hatred because they don't understand you, right? They don't
Oh yeah.
understand the changes in the environment around them. And as long as their life is peachy keen in their eyes, right? To hell with the next person, especially if
Right.
it's somebody, that's a person of color, because then we'll get into all of the other great myths like black on black crime, right? Well, if
Right.
Black
Mhm.
Lives Matter, then why are y'all killing each other? Well, shit, you know, realistically, that's considered proximity crime, right? People commit crime against the people in the communities that they live in. You don't
Yeah.
see,
Indeed.
somebody from Texas unless it's a radicalized extremist, which 9 times out of 9 is going to be a Caucasian male, right?
Right.
But you don't see people going from one community and driving hundreds and thousands of miles to go to another community and enact crimes upon them, right? That only happens in bullshit like the TV show Power, right?
Right.
Power,
Yeah.
Power ended. Tommy leaves. He goes to Chicago. And he
Right.
starts over
Now he
again,
started doing stuff over there that he was in New York doing. Yeah.
doing
Like
the
man.
same shit, right?
Right.
Yeah, but in
Like come on, man.
reality, yeah, in reality, crime works that way. But things that are positive for humanity don't often work that way, So again, going back to what our topic is, does Black Lives Matter? Ultimately, there is no such thing as a black lie. There's human lives, right? And it's
Right.
our disconnection from nature is
Yeah.
another predominant reason why humans do not value life, period, right?
Yeah.
Um, here's something that we would again say 30 years ago, right? And a lot of the youth that may have heard this one, but we taught things like each one teach one, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
we upheld values like my word is my bond, right? Um, we were also humble enough to say, well, in my opinion, or as I see it, or my thought is on this, right? So it doesn't necessarily take away from the group, and we could usually reach a general consensus because there was no selfish ambition behind it, right? It's just, hey, well, I see it like this. Um, when we think about what the purpose of a conversation is, ultimately a conversation is mind control, right? I'm
Oh
conveying
yeah.
my thoughts to you to help you get in alignment to what's going on in my head so we can reach some agreement, Um, and that's not a bad thing, right? But
Yeah.
when we look at the grander scheme of things, unfortunately, we know we live in an environment that's fear driven, right? It's fear driven. And it seems like as soon as things start going right, a monkey wrench is thrown into the machine, and we're, perceptually, some people perceive like, damn, okay, we're right back at square one. So again, keeping with our topic of Black Lives Matter, I'm not on the scene in Memphis, but my question, and I'm just being rhetorical, is where was Black Lives Matter when 5 police officers brutally beat a
Right.
brother, right?
5 black
Who ended up
police
dying.
officers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And again, if we just take the color out of it, yes, like you said, it was 5 black men that did this to another black man, right?
Right.
If anything, and it's a terrible thing, but if anything, that shows that this institution of policing is systemic, right? Because it doesn't matter the ethnicity of the person committing the atrocity against another person, right?
Right.
So again, did Black Lives Matter that day? Hell no, Black Lives didn't matter, right? And it
Right.
didn't have to be that brother. It could have been someone else. But goddamn, it shows
And
seems easier to commit atrocity against someone who looks like you than someone who does not look like you, right?
Yeah. So when you dealing like from that perspective, you saying to yourself like, okay, so in humanity, if we look at it from that perspective and say we're all human beings, but the way our power structure is designed, it's designed
right,
to divide us because we have focused on the differences. Everyone has similarities, right? We have 2 eyes, one nose, lips and stuff like that, 2 ears, 2 hands, all of that stuff, right? But we don't focus on that. We more or less look at the differences and our
hmm,
culturalism based on our differences. What do we look like? What is a shade? Are you you light skin? You dark skin? You know what I'm saying? Are you white? Are you black? These are distinctions that have been placed in our minds psychologically from the system that we've grown into. We've been institutionalized into the system from birth to be
right,
programmed to believe that. You know what I'm saying? That we're different as opposed to just being one race, human race. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Just
indeed.
because we like to do things differently. Be like, okay, so you like to go and hiking up a mountain, but I like to kick back in the barbecue and have barbecue and play dominoes and spades. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's
Right,
a cultural difference of things that you like to do, but that doesn't make you something different. It just says
Right.
that you enjoy doing certain things differently, right? The way you were raised, your morals, your values, what your family taught you, things of that nature are the things that are different amongst human beings, but we like to focus on the differences as opposed to the similarities, right? So we say
right,
Black Lives Matter. We're saying it in a proud sense.
Right.
You have a sense of pride within yourself as you look in the mirror. You can identify with your people that you hold a commonality with that look like you. You know what I'm saying? It's not to say that
exactly.
there is this distinction amongst human beings, which it should not be.
Right.
The Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that. It's more or less having pride. This is just me, thinking like this, having pride in who you are as an individual person. And Kit, you mentioned it already. Know thyself. Know thyself is an old
Hmm,
ancient African proverb. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That goes way back to Kemet. So knowing thyself and understanding who you are as an individual will go a long way with you having some pride and looking at yourself as something of value.
Right.
You know your
hmm,
worth if you're as an individual. And then you can look at your brother and sister and have value in their lives as well. And then also you can look at other people with other different hues, you know what I'm saying, of the color scheme
hmm,
and have value in their lives and see value in their lives because you value yourself. Now, for those who don't value themselves, they're going to look at themselves as opposite, opposing, and they're going to look at, they don't like themselves on the inside. So anything that reflects, you know, that same image, they're going
Right.
to have problems with,
Right.
or if there's a misunderstanding of understanding of the different cultures like you have with, blacks and whites, then they're going to be fearful, like Kid has mentioned, of what they don't know, what they don't understand. So their first natural instinct is to go in opposing conflict. You know what I'm saying? So why not have an open mind? This is what still building is all about. To be able
And
to come together and understand with an open mind what it is, these differences that we call differences, and what is it that we're looking at? What is the real reality of it? You know what I'm saying?
mhm. I'm glad you brought that way, man, because I was thinking while you were talking, and my thought process is this: in terms of Black Lives Matter and what we're doing with still building, right? Our, our main goal is to first build up the Black community or build up ourselves and have that positive effect on everybody else.
Yeah.
They, just like always, you have to start with the man in the mirror, right? And then move forward and encompass everybody and everybody's different beliefs and whatever it is that they have. I said earlier in the week when we were talking about production, man, we have to embrace the entire Black community. You know what I'm saying? We have to embrace our LGBT brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters that are locked up in prison. All of these people make up the entire Black community. And just like with our families, we don't want to kick anybody out of our family just because they're different from us. Well,
Right.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I made a statement, man, on Facebook, and that is, my brother is still my brother. We might have differences, might not have the same, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, my brother is still my brother. I still love my brother because he is my brother. And I pray for my brother that if he's going the wrong direction, that he'll make the turn that needs to be made. If I'm going the wrong direction, that I'll make the turn that I need to make, so
Right.
that we can come together and reach this common goal that we have.
Right. Yeah. And it's
Hey,
always, man. Go ahead, Kid.
oh no, 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 no. Go ahead, because I'll let you. You may say something else that brings another thought to mind. I was taking a couple little notes from when Jack was speaking, but go ahead, bro.
Yeah. So I was saying, like, for us to be able to identify with ourselves and who we are, as individuals, and love yourself. You know what I'm saying? Love
Mhm.
what you see in the mirror. Love, who you come from, your mother's womb. You know, love your siblings, brothers and sisters, that look like you. It's love that ultimately conquers all, when you think about it. And if you can't see, love in your heart and in yourself, then you're not going to be, someone else's life will not matter to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we asking the
Right,
question, do Black lives matter? I would say yes, they do matter. But also at the same time, other lives matter as well. All life
mhm,
matters.
Right.
But when you saying that, you saying to yourself like, Black lives matter because you want to have a sense of unity and pride and respect for yourself and your fellow brothers and sisters who are, of the same hue as you, of the
right,
same
Right.
family as you, the same community as you. It's not to say that we're, the greatest of all time, you know what I'm saying, or the best. I mean, we've invented everything, we started it all. We know that because we're the original man and woman on the planet, right?
right,
So we understand that. But to have that love, that's attached to it, from the inside will show outward. The
Yeah.
the agape love. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Not a feeling, You know what I mean? But an agape love, meaning you have empathy for a person or compassion
Right.
for an individual person, a respect, for an individual person because their life is valuable because that's one commonality that you share. We all breathe air. We all bleed the same red blood. We all have a heart that pumps. We all have the same internal organs that function the exact same way. You know what I'm saying? So why can't we have a healthy respect for one another and love for one another in order to be able to gain some form of understanding of who we are as individuals and to respect that? I could see, I got Mexican neighbors, I got white neighbors, I got black neighbors, you know what I'm saying? And they all like their own little culture. They all do their own little thing. And that's cool with me. You know what I'm saying? I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? I join in sometime. Hey, what's going on with y'all? How y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. Because if you want to be a neighbor, you want to show them that love. But at the
Right.
same time, I'm going to represent who I am and who I see in the mirror. And I'm not going to be ashamed of that. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? So we have this psychological complex as black people. It started with slavery, and we all know when Africans were conquered in Africa and how the Europeans divided it up and systematically put themselves on top in
Mhm.
power, that they've changed the infrastructure and made you ashamed to be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Ashamed. We had a period during the 60s and 70s where it was very fashionable to be proud to be black. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Mhm.
black and I'm proud. James Brown came out with it. Say it like
Mhm.
I'm black and I'm
Mhm.
proud. You know what I'm saying? But it was a movement that had went forward. And then when we saw our leaders get killed systematically, one by one, the fear, was instilled. Like, oh no, we don't want to be quiet. We don't want to say, Black Lives Matter or be proud or anything. But here we are in the year 2023, and we have this Black Lives Matter slogan, that we can, unite under. But do we really understand what that means? Does it really
Yeah.
matter? Do your life really matter? You know what I'm saying? So I want
Right.
to ask this question. I want to ask this question, and I'm gonna let Kit jump this one off, man. Let me see if I can get to it. Hold on a second. I'm gonna ask this question. All right, here we go. How can we utilize the Black Lives Matter slogan to affect positive policy changes for Black people?
Right. That's a good one. That's a good one. We haven't done a show on this yet as far as like political activism and being
Right.
active in first and foremost local, state, and federal elections, right?
Yeah,
And having a presence and then realizing that yeah, your voice actually does matter when it comes to local, and local would be in your town, your parish, right? Your local government and how the environment around you is actually, formulated, right? Um, so the mindset of, you know, do Black Lives Matter again, it goes back to, and I'll try to cycle back to the political involvement, but it goes back to our concept of what a village is, right? Jack alluded to it earlier, and it was repeated again, but it's like a village concept, right? We oftentimes forget that in our own families, we have the black sheep of the family, right? The whole family is 7 day adventures, and you got the one family member that left and went to a different church, and now they're, Baptist, right?
right. Yeah,
You don't,
Mhm.
you don't stop, you don't stop fucking with your people. You know what I mean? You don't
right,
stop. I'm not gonna talk to them no more because they're no longer 7 day adventures, right?
man. But I'm gonna tell you, bro, that happens, bro.
It
I
does. It does.
That
It
happens, bro.
happens. It happens because we live in a dysfunctional environment that is predominantly the byproduct of colonialism, right?
Yeah,
Colonialism. And if you look at the first part of that word, colon, right? So we all got rammed through colonialism, right?
right.
So
Boy,
have
you
impacted
right.
colon. impacted colons because of colonization. Oh, and it did that was the first major damage to planet Earth. Right,
Oh yeah.
colonization has affected every ethnicity and my majority and whatever way you want to break down humans into categories. It's affected everyone globally. Right? So there's no more greater colonization in one place than it was in another. You know? We also
Right.
have to consider too that when we have had a great influx of Negroes that came from the West Indies and South America to the Americas, right? And I've spoken on this before. In the late 1800s, there was a huge mass of West Indians into the 1900s, a huge influx of West Indians who came to North America. That some of us are descendants of them, right? It
That's
kind
right.
of bangs up that notion of, well, everybody was a product of triangular slave trade to North America. No, we all ain't, right?
Right.
Um, but you have to understand too that here in Babylon the Great in the United States of America under Satan's authority, I know you brothers know this, right? But the world follows your black ass.
Mm.
The
Everything.
world follows you, right? If
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you if you go to Afghanistan, I'm trying to pick some off the wall damn places too. Go to Afghanistan. You could go to Tuvaye, right? Most
Japan.
people ain't even heard of that place. And you
Hmm.
ask them, hey, name me a rapper.
Right.
They're not
Exactly.
gonna say Eminem. They're not gonna say Eminem. You know what they're gonna say? Oh, Snoop Doggy Dogg. Oh,
Right.
Snoop Doggy Dogg. Yeah, we know about the Snoop Doggy Dogg.
Uh,
You know the Snoop Doggy Dogg, right?
Tupac.
mm, mm,
Oh, you know about the Biggie Smalls? You know the Biggie Smalls? Right? And you
Right.
brothers know when we were stationed overseas, people will walk up and ask you questions that you might not have really been prepared for. Like they would ask you, "Hey, you're from the U.S. and you're black. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Chicago. What's the
Yeah.
relationship between you and the white people there, right? Like they
Right.
just get right to the point because they seem to know more about your history than you do about your own black ass, right? I
Right.
often
mhm.
had foreigners tell me when I was overseas, yeah, you need to really learn your history. You really need to know more about who you are in a global perspective, not just in this little, bubble of, well, we're just North Americans and we don't live in Canada. We don't live in
Right.
Mexico. We live in this little box right here. And so that's all I'm supposed to know, right? So,
Yeah.
like, going back into the thing with how does like the BLM movement tie into politics, right?
Mhm.
There's, I'm going to say there's one law. You guys know there's multiple laws. There's one law. We have a set of laws in this country, in this corporation called the United States corporate, right? We have a set of laws that just need to be enforced. You don't have
Right.
to reinvent the wheel to increase border security. There's already laws on the books to deal with border security, right? The hype that gets put out is, oh, we need new laws to do what? You're not
Right.
going to do anything more with a new law than you're already doing, right? And it's the same way
Mhm.
with legislation that surrounds the African in America, right?
Right.
And do our lives matter and make everybody else? There's only one law that I can think of or one movement that hasn't been successful that if this were done, it would end every goddamn thing, right? Which is
Mhm.
reparations.
Oh yeah. Reparations.
Reparations.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I even put it out there with this caveat, and we'll just, I'm just being figurative, right? It's way more than this than what you goddamn owe us. But if you gave every Negro in America $1 million, with this exception, in order to get the money, you have to attend a financial literacy class, right?
Right. And pass it.
Mhm.
That
You
part
can't
too.
just attend. You got to pass the test and be
Okay.
in.
Well, it's already gonna be Pookie and Twan already gonna be there selling the answers to the test and shit.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know how we get there, right? But like on some real, and then make the stipulation. Once we get the money, we really can't complain about shit else, right?
Mhm.
Right.
I know it sounds like really, like simple, but that would remedy a lot of issues because what you may see is a great majority of at least Africans in North America will probably leave this place.
Yeah.
They probably leave because they
And that's
have
You
what
know,
they don't. That's what they don't
they
want,
don't
bro.
want. Right. That's what they
They
don't want.
don't
They
want
don't
that, bro.
want you to leave because who? Listen, brother said it already. Right. Who invented every goddamn thing? Right.
We
exactly,
did.
Literally. Who built this place? Right.
We did.
Until that second wave after 1865, when they realized, oh, we're gonna have to pay these people that we didn't formally pay, who built the White House, who built the Capitol, who built right every goddamn thing. Then there was a
Yeah.
wave of European workers to come here to replace us to build all the skyscrapers in New York and Chicago and all the big cities, right? But that was
Right.
jobs that you were supposed to be holding down, right?
Mhm.
There were things that I think most people of color are already aware of. When I say people of color, I'm talking about our Asian community. I'm talking about our South Pacific communities. I'm talking about our Latino X communities, right? These are all
Yeah.
terms that we have to use to describe how somebody looks different from somebody else when in reality, they're
Right.
all just melanated people, right? But
Right.
even they know
Mhm.
separate but equal was really the right thing.
Yeah.
Separate
Mhm.
but equal. That's all we ever asked for, right? Don't
Right.
mess with us, right? We got our own shit. Don't mess with us. To the point where, you had the Red Summer, you had, lynchings at all time high, right?
And they
Um,
trying to bring that back. You know that
yeah, I
senator.
saw that.
You saw that. That
Yeah,
senator introduced it. He was like, "Yeah, we need to bring lynching back as a form of capital punishment instead of the
yeah.
electric
Man, get
chair."
out of here.
He
I
want to
would have
hang
told him.
somebody from a tree.
I wish I was there. I would have said I agree
Mhm.
if we could start with you.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Like, your ass first.
I'm just saying.
Hey, so
Like, stick him up. Get him up there.
Right, right. The Black Caucus in his state. I think he was from Kentucky or Tennessee. Kentucky.
Yeah,
No,
Tennessee. Was it
Tennessee.
Tennessee?
Tennessee. It's
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah, he's
yep.
from Tennessee. The Black Caucus got together. They didn't put out a press report, explaining how disgusted they were by his statement. This punk laughed when he said it, right? He was smiling, he thought it
Right.
was funny. And he has since issued an apology that is a non apology. He didn't say, I'm sorry for the shit I said. He said, I'm sorry if I offended anybody by what I said. So you still stand behind what you said, right?
Yeah, he could have
But
Mhm.
kept that.
it's that kind of like childhood and childish and immature, some may say sophomoric attitude that we've only observed our whole lives when it comes to the melanin recessive person that is considered the majority who's really the global minority, right? And
Right.
it's just here that we see that. So it kind of comes back to, again, we circle back to, well, how are you readjusting and realigning your perception of the, reality in the world going on around you with your moral constitution and what things you will allow and not allow, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. So it doesn't matter if I see two black men about to fight, two Asian men about to fight, right?
Right.
Today's world, I'm supposed to break out my phone and go Facebook Live and, put these dudes on World Star, okay? I'm supposed to record you. It don't matter what's going on because how many times have y'all seen that? We can go on any TikTok, anything right now and find a video of somebody fighting, everybody standing around recording it, and it's only when they may hear a whoop whoop in the background. It's 5-0 is coming. Let's break the fight up now. Or they
Right.
see, oh, here comes security. Now, well, somebody give Keisha her wig back, and
Right.
Aquanetta, her tracks came out. Just pick them up. She'll glue them back on later, right? So again, it just boils down to like personal responsibility. What are you doing that's going to make an impact or a difference in another human life, right? And it goes back to I had mentioned it before, the village concept. Everybody has a purpose in the village.
Right.
Everyone has a
Mhm.
purpose in the village. Brother Jack mentioned before, just like with the LGBTQ and our people who identify as other than heterosexual, right? They
Right.
have a
Mhm.
purpose in the community.
Yeah.
Here's a line from the message, right? Used to be a fag hag, all right? I'm just
Yeah.
going to use that part right there. Used to be a fag hag, right?
Mhm.
When I was a little children, I said, "Damn, what's a fag hag?" Right?
Right.
As I got older, I learned what it was. I said, "Oh, that's the chick that she might have owned the beauty salon, and she always had gay men there, right? And they were
Right.
her friends, right? And they all laugh and gossip. But guess what? When that woman had an issue with her man who was not gay, she would discuss it with the gay man, who would give her insight on how to appease his attitude, on how to go back and patch up things with uh, her mate, right?
Right.
Well,
So he
that's
had like a masculine and feminine balance that he can
right.
offer both sides.
So in a village concept, in African spirituality, they're called like gatekeepers, right? The,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the the gay men, the gay women are gatekeepers. They don't marry, right? As far as oh yeah, we're gonna and have a house with a picket fence, and we're gonna adopt a bunch of kids, and we're gonna do all these things because we're trying to fit into this colonial picture of what we should be, right?
Right.
But their importance was significant. It was significant because in some parts of the world to this day, you still have tribes where the women speak one language, the men speak another language, then they have a bridge language when they come together to speak to each other, right?
Yeah.
That gatekeeper was the person who went between the two. When the men were having issues with women, they would find the female gatekeeper, right? And they would say, yo, we need to communicate this. What do you think? And they would counsel with her, and then she would go talk to them. Yeah, the dude's over here saying such, and they respected her gangster, right?
Right.
So when we look at it, we already operate on that level. Everybody got a gay uncle. Everybody got a cousin that you knew for when he was 2 years old and playing with Barbie dolls, what he was gonna grow up to be like. And you know
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
did? You
He was
supported
different.
his black ass. You supported her. You supported him
Right.
because that is your people. That's your
Right.
people. And that's an undeniable thing that we should already be mature enough to have that kind of acceptance where, hey, I don't get down like that, but obviously this is how this person gets down. I don't have the right to diss them. I don't have the right, to put stumbling block before them or set them up for failure or anything because ultimately, where is the love in that?
Right.
Where
Yeah.
where is the love?
Yeah.
So
So
And you know
going
what?
back
politically,
to
go
Go
ahead,
ahead. Go
bro.
ahead, Jack.
going back to the origin, man. You know what I'm saying? Everything that brought about separatism. You know what I'm saying? Or the main thing that brought about separatism was greed. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Oh
So
yeah.
if we can get beyond the greed, man, we'll be able to unite not only as black people but as a world people. One thing we have to understand is that, as Kip was saying, we're all here struggling to get through this life the best way that we know how, with different belief systems and so on and so forth. But we have to be able to identify the enemy of period, right? Not just black man, not white man, green, whatever color, but the enemy of man. That's the
Right.
thing that brought us up as soldiers in the United States Army, right?
Right.
We
Yeah.
were all fighting for a common cause and a common goal, even if we didn't know what it was.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah, because we signed on to do so. So if we understand that as a black people, as a people all together, you know what I'm saying, that we are fighting for a common cause and we get that thing eradicated, then we can move on to the next step, right? And that is the thing that will be able to galvanize and unite us in spite of all of our differences and everything else.
But you
Yeah.
know what? That brings a
Uh,
that brings a good question though, Jack. What
go ahead.
can do it? What can do it?
Huh?
If slavery couldn't do it,
Right.
if segregation couldn't do it, civil
Right.
rights movement couldn't do it, if George
Right.
Floyd and the police brutality that we saw all of the lives that were taken from black people by the
Right.
police force couldn't do it, what is it that can galvanize a people and bring us together and unite us under a mantra to unify?
Right. And see, that's the thing, right? Again, we have to identify what the enemy is. What are we trying to eradicate, right? And does it affect everybody that falls under the mantra of Black Lives Matter? That's why I say we have to embrace our LGBT community. We have to embrace our brothers and sisters who are locked up in prison and come out of the prison system with no job skills and have turned back to a life of crime. They come out of the prison system abused sexually and mentally and every other aspect, and can't really in a functioning society as we have it, and wind up getting swept right back into that same old system. So we have to be able to come together, man, and understand the need that we all have, right? And that, again, that's to be accepted, to be loved as men, to be able to provide for our families the things that our families need and desire, right? No one should be denied the right to vote. Speaking on that, right? Of course, here in Mississippi, I just recently learned, man, that we have a House Bill 1020. And under that House Bill 1020, essentially the people who live in the capital city of Jackson will lose their right to vote and actually run their own city, because they will be actually and taking over a portion of the police force and all of those other things as well. So I'm currently researching that, man, to try and understand the language of that bill and see if that's something that we need to address in that manner. And so, again, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, right? Black lives have to matter on every level. You know what I'm saying? It has to matter on the political level, has to matter on the street level, from one gang to another, one brother to another, and we talked about the value of human life. We have to understand how valuable a human life is. And I don't know if we can fully grasp that concept outside of getting rid of the greed that we have, right? Because we want to accumulate things. We want to accumulate stuff because that's what from the time that we're born into this life, right? You haven't done or accomplished anything unless you've accumulated or amassed a whole lot of stuff. Well, yeah, we want to stake our claim on that front as well, right? So that we can be equal and united with the people whom we think is above us. You understand what I'm saying? And especially from the slave mentality, right? We came here, we had nothing. Slave masters had the house, they had the land, they had the people to work the land, our BAs, as a kid would say. You know what I'm saying? So they got us, man, you know what I'm saying? And we're doing all of this stuff. We got to get rid of that greed in our hearts, man, before we can really make the that we need to make. At the same time, because of the power structure that we have, right? And we know that it is financially, man, as a people, we are way behind. Talking about the financial literacy and all of that, man. We invest in so many things, but we won't invest in someone who will help us guide our finances, right? We've heard the terms, it take money to make money, Right. So we won't go and get a financial advisor to say, hey, you need to set aside this amount of money, that, for this, that, and the other. We'll still try to figure it out on our own and continue to make the same old mistakes that we've been making. We won't go and get a marriage counselor, to help straighten out our marriage, continue along the same old lines, doing the same old thing without getting the help that we need. So we have to understand the importance of getting those things that we need, and again, be able to identify that common enemy and hit that target that we want to hit. If we all, as Black people, under the mantra of Black Lives Matter, see what the target is and understand the objective greatly and internalize it, then yeah, we can hit that target because there's nothing that we can't accomplish. Look what we've done out of 400 years of slavery in America.
Right.
And even back before slavery in America, we accomplished great things when we united together.
Right. It's funny, man, because you look at things that are trendy, right? Things that we used to do 10, 20 years ago, we don't do today, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
tells you right there that we are able to collectively agree on doing certain things. We will
Right.
accept it.
Yeah.
If it's cool, if it's all right for us to do, then everybody likes it. It's just like a song, a favorite song. What causes that song to be so popular?
Right.
Everyone likes the song. How is that song liked by so many people? It's constantly being programmed and put into your face
Mm-hmm.
continuously.
That's
So there were things that we were doing back in the 70s and 80s that were an unspoken code. You see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Things that we knew to do and what not to do that we had value in. You know what I'm saying? How we were raised. You're not
Right.
supposed to speak without being spoken to. You know what I'm saying? Or when you come into a room, you're supposed to say hello to everybody and acknowledge,
Right.
these are unspoken things. And those things that we all agreed upon, right? So it's not like we cannot unify and come together collectively and agree on some things, but we have this thing called the internet now. The internet is kind of divided us a lot. You know what I'm saying? To a point where we we got this whole movement, called the cancel culture. You know what I'm saying? The
Mm-hmm.
cancel culture. People will
Yeah.
cancel you if you don't agree with, the things that the masses will agree to. So now we have the internet where we can all collectively see, what it's saying. And then you can look at it and say, well, yeah, I agree with that. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Or we can collectively as a group and come together and say, no, that should not be done right that way. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? That's wrong. You know what I'm saying? So we can come together and unify under Black Lives Matter. But what is, like you said, can we identify that um thing that we all agree on that is the enemy?
Yeah.
What is the one thing that we can all agree on is the enemy? And then, Kit, you had mentioned too, our humanity. What is it that
Mm-hmm.
makes us human?
Human.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? What is it that
Right.
makes us human as human beings? Are we valuing that over, our own individual individualistic ideologies, and wants and desires? Or should we put a priority, you know, of our people above those things and rank them in priority accordingly? So back then it was like, okay, look, we know we're not going to do this. All right. So if somebody step out of line back in the day, then they got a violation. That was Chicago's rules, Chicago standards. If you know the code of the street, you know how to operate. You don't mess with no kids, you don't mess with no elderly people, you don't do certain things at a certain spot. In front
Right.
of no church, you respect yourself. You take your hat off. You be respectful of your mom and father. I don't care what you're doing out in them streets. That was the
Right.
code. It was an unwritten code. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
knew it. Everybody accepted it. Everybody embraced it and followed it. But then a lot of those leaders got killed, and then it just took away a lot of those standards that were held. So then the value of what we collectively value was lost, and then we
Right.
got individualistic ideologies. I like it this way, or I like doing things that way. And then certain groups of people will say, "Yeah, I agree with that." So like you said, we got everybody's in their own little cliques.
Yeah.
You know, but if we all can respect our cliques and then focus on that commonality,
Mm-hmm.
here's our common thing that we all agree on, that we all have in common, that we can fight for, right? And identify that enemy and know that this is what we all agree is more important okay, than our individualistic ideologies, right?
Right.
So just like the LGBT, let's just use them for example. The LGBT, they have different shades, right? Different hues.
Mm-hmm.
You got white,
Mm-hmm.
black,
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic gays, and all type of stuff, right? So if they all have different cultural differences, but guess what? They unite under that rainbow flag when it's time to unite for that common goal, that
Right.
common and fight against that common enemy. They want to be accepted in society and
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And be treated as equal. That's their goal, right? So they identify that. And guess what they do? They support that goal financially. So
Mm-hmm.
when it's time to go forth and influence change in policies in the community for their people, they have the financial backing because they're using the game, which is the political game between the Democrats, Republicans, of how to
Yep.
play it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the difference with the Black Lives Matter, we don't put our financial backing towards our goals. What is our goal? You know, what is the enemy? Who's the enemy? Like Jack was saying, who's the enemy that we're trying
Mm-hmm.
to conquer? And what is that commonality that we all share that we feel is most important to us as a people collectively, even though we have
Mm-hmm.
our own individualistic ideologies? But we if we put our value system up front above that and everything else falls underneath, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes
Hey,
time to have that, then we can financially support that to be able to buy lobbyists in the political realm, to be able to fight
right.
for policy changes, because this is how
Mm-hmm.
policies actually get changed in
Oh
America.
yes. You better
But through
believe money is behind it.
money, money is it. So you got $5, I got $5, you know, you got $5. We put together, that's $15 right
Mhm.
there. We get more people who $5, $5 will not hurt your pocket right now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But if we
Not to mention,
collectively put, yeah. So if we collectively put those $5 in it and we all put $5 in, now we can go forth in a group and say, this is our demand. This is
mm-hmm.
what we want to see changed. This is how we want things to be done. We want bathrooms for us. We want to get married in the church. You know what I'm saying? We want
Mm-hmm.
and guess what happened?
Exactly. But look, they've also learned how to use and manipulate the media as well, and that's something that
Oh
we have
yeah.
not yet learned because how many Black Lives Matter commercials have you seen?
Man,
Right,
Right.
in
but
movies, TV shows,
exactly.
man, it was so crazy. It was a shock. The cultural shock to see all of that stuff. You know, I don't agree. I don't agree with the lifestyle. I'm gonna tell you flat out. I just don't
No,
agree with the
I
lifestyle
don't.
because I believe in natural order of things. You came into this world from
Right,
masculine and feminine. You know, you
right,
need masculine and feminine to be able to be born. Those two entities have to come together. You can't procreate with male and male, female and female. That's
right.
just, you know, I don't agree with the
Sean,
lifestyle, but
bro.
I will say
It's
I
still my brother and
cannot,
sister.
yeah, but
Right. Right.
I'm not gonna, you know, hate somebody because of the choice that they made, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's a choice that they made. I'm not going to hate you because of that. I just don't agree with it. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But
Yeah.
Exactly.
that's just my opinion. All right. So if I don't agree with it, it's okay. You do you. It's cool. Do your thing. But don't try to influence me or others to, I guess, change that way
Yeah,
or you know,
exactly.
you putting it in my face all the time. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you pretty much what do you call it? Ah, man, it's on the tip of my tongue. You're in not invading someone's space, but you're
Mm-hmm.
imposing on them.
Coaching, yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I don't
exactly.
impose on you that I'm a heterosexual. You know what I'm
All right,
saying? I don't impose on you that these are my, you know, desires and my sexual urges and things like that. I like to get it in like this. You know, I like to do that. I
mm-hmm.
like to, you know what I'm saying? I don't impose, I don't want to put that on the screen, even though that's where it is, you know what I'm saying? You know, films and stuff have evolved. You know, back in the day, it was just like, oh, you know, the love scene was like one little kiss. That was the end of the show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They
Now
like
it's full blown. You know what I'm saying? They getting it
Exactly.
in on power. You know what I'm saying? They getting it in full blown. You know what I'm saying? On
I'm gonna
BMF.
tell you,
Okay.
man. I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you that shit started back way back on the TV show Oz.
Oz. Oh,
Oz.
you right.
If we go back to Oz, that was the first show that was like televised with Man Love, right?
Yeah. You right.
You know, I'm gonna tell you. I just wanted to say something, and this is my personal philosophy. All power to the people is what I grew up hearing, and I still hold that very near and dear to my heart. Anything that's empowering the people, and this kind of couples itself with a few things
Mm-hmm.
that have been mentioned, right? Um, I think if we were to speak like politically, I'm progressive, right? I'm about progress. I'm not about hold anything back. I'm about empowering the middle class and uh, eating the rich, right? Tax their
Yeah.
motherfucking asses, right? I'm that dude. Like, no, man, y'all not paying your fair portion, right?
Right.
But when it comes back to like the flag issue and something being imposed upon somebody, again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take you guys back, back down memory lane
Yeah.
on AFN network, right? Armed Forces Network.
Mm-hmm.
There were several times that kind of an alert would come in, right? Oh, stay away from Havaka Square, stay away from this place because there's a
Right.
neo-Nazi outage today, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I ain't no neo-Nazi, right? So how
Right.
the fuck I look taking my black ass down to a neo-Nazi rally when that's something that they're doing, right? I'm not
Right.
going down to protest because that's your time to shine, right? It's your time to let your dim light shine and show, hey, we're a bunch of dumbasses. We think this is cool, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, look, we're
Mm-hmm.
holding up a little flag with a symbol we didn't even create. And,
Right.
everyone sees the swastika and they're scared now. Look at us, right? They stole every goddamn thing. But I'm
Right.
using that as an example to bring to mind, just like, the brother was saying, like, okay, that's not your persuasion. That's not how you get down, right? I don't have to agree with what you do, but then I also don't have to be present, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Right.
Something else that
Exactly.
was mentioned before too. I wanted to, just bring this to more to our audience, not really for us three. But there's a saying, right? And I can't. It was some French dude that said this shit, right? But he wasn't the first one to say it, right? But how many times have you heard, "I think, therefore I am,"
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. I heard that. Yeah.
I think,
Yes.
therefore I am, right? So just the art of thinking, right? Having an idea leads to identity. What do I identify as, right? When we look at like
Right.
neurolinguistics, we have to put things in like a person's alignment, okay? Said individual, without putting my pronouns are, right? An individual, just a person, male, female, it doesn't matter, right? Each
Mm-hmm.
person could look at something and get a different idea out of what they're perceiving based on their alignment, right? I could
Right.
stand in front of it and see it one way. You could be standing on one side, Jack could be on the other side, and all three of us could actually get a different interpretation. We see it every time you look at a movie and they're in a goddamn museum looking at paintings,
Right.
right? And somebody walks up, oh yeah, I see this, I see a
They
Henrietta
actually do
Hipple.
that in college. That's a
Yes,
college course. Art.
yes, yes,
You have
yes,
to
yes.
interpret what you
You,
you
if,
see in the picture,
if
in the
you take
painting.
Okay.
art theory, you're gonna have to, describe what you interpret out of this, right? And the
Right.
thing is, um, again, we set limitations, right? Like this again may sound radical to some, but there is no right and there is no wrong. You know what you have people doing what they want to do, right? That's all it is.
Right.
People are doing what they want to do. Now, I'm not saying there
Right.
aren't break points in society, right? And this is where
Mm-hmm.
like people that religious think, hey, the Ten Commandments is what I live my life by, right? Ten
Right.
Commandments is not brand new. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Uh, so there have always been standards in the society for people to be civilized in, right? And to get together
Right.
and work congruently, right? But it's like when we start overstepping our boundaries into somebody else's house, that's when
Yeah.
we
Right.
start, going a little left, like, hey, that's not my job. I could mention it to you, right? That's that's the human interaction. If I see my neighbor, and he's smacking his kid up or something, hey, hey, hey,
Right.
recognize where you are, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
not saying I'm not one to beat kids. I'm not one that hits kids. I believe in using the words and effectiveness and the whole shebang, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if I see someone doing something wrong, am I going to take it upon myself to speak to this person? Just to say,
Right.
hey,
Right.
man, that might not be the best way to do that. Hey, man, you at the gas station pumping gas. Why are you going upside her head like that, dude? This is all on camera. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
giving
Can you
that
intervene?
forewarning. Now, if that
Mm-hmm.
person doesn't listen to what I say, at least I can go to bed that night knowing, well, I got that shit off my chest, right?
Your
Exactly.
conscience can be
I
clear. Yeah.
said,
Your
yeah,
conscience.
I got a
Exactly.
clear conscience, right? I'm not
Right.
gonna go to bed thinking, oh, I wish I had said this, and I'm never gonna see this individual again, right? And I'm not, again, a hero
Look.
ain't nothing but a sandwich, right? I'm not telling you to go out here and get involved in stuff and whatever. I'm just saying when you have that opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
do good, good. Always
Yeah.
take the moral high road, right? And these aren't things that, there's a tertiary thing I live my life by, right? I'm a spiritualist, I'm a humanist, and I'm an ecologist, right? I
Mm-hmm.
Right.
believe, start with the last one, ecologist. We live on a planet. This planet is a living organism, right? I'm not going to do something intentionally destructive to burn my house down, right?
Right.
Not when my third dimensional crystalline body is still trapped here. When I'm awake, I'm using this avatar body in this fake ass world around me to manipulate. I'm not going to do something to destroy this environment. So that's the ecologist, right? Then the humanist
Right.
thing. Hey, we've been saying that the whole show. We're just humans doing human shit, right? So the humanist
Mm-hmm.
part of me is I'm going to deal with this human in a way that is a moral high ground compared to just being, that I ain't helping her. There go an old lady. I'm not gonna help across the street. I'm gonna push this bitch in front of a bus, right? Like, no, we don't do that. That's rotten in every culture. You can be in Baghdad and Bangladesh. It's wrong anywhere you go, right? So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
we have that, and then being a spiritualist, right? Being spiritual, being aware that first and foremost, my rakah, my spirit, my inner fire, my inner pyramid, right, is
Yeah.
really what you are hearing or seeing when I open my goddamn mouth, right?
Right.
If
That's
I
right.
ain't saying nothing, you don't know nothing about me if I'm not saying that. And people look at it, and this again goes to this colonial perception of, well, you look this role, so obviously this is what you are, right? Look, he
Right.
Yeah.
dressed like this, he got his pants hanging off his ass, he doing this, you might not know that man just may need a belt, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's the
He might,
prejudice. That's the prejudice mind state, man. You know what I'm saying? We prejudge,
exactly.
but we see. There was a sign when I was stationed in the military. I used to go in front of the building. There was a sign that said, "You never get a great chance to make a second impression. I mean, to make a
Impression, right?
great first impression. You never get
First
a second
impression, right?
chance to make a great first impression."
Right.
So you always want to present yourself well and be able to put your, best foot forward. That's the
Absolutely.
mantra that was like coming through. But you saying like, man, the prejudiceness of individual people and how they
Mm-hmm.
perceive things, is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
Right.
I just wanted to get going and put that on there. Go ahead,
Yep.
brother. Go ahead.
Let me make this quick statement, man, regarding what Kit said as well, in terms of people living their life however they want to live their life, right? Uh, Again, I live my life based on biblical teaching. One of the things that Paul taught that people tend to gloss over is the fact that he said, uh, outside, you do whatever you want to do. But under the rules of Christianity, this is what you have to follow. Just like in my house, right?
Yeah.
Outside of my house, my children get on their own. They live however they want to live. In my house, these are my rules. These are my
Right.
regulations. You have to live by.
Right.
So that, man, and again, finding a commonality, because we all down here struggling to get through this life the best way that we know how. And,
Man.
and it come to those stages, like you were alluding to in some of our earlier conversations, Sean. You wasn't ready for that at that particular point. You know what I'm saying? But when you're ready for it, now you can accept it. Now you can move forward with it, and keep on going and growing.
Yeah, yeah. And Kit mentioned it, man. What is the moral high ground? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What is the moral high ground that we want to achieve as a people? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When we say, does Black Lives Matter? Yes. A lot of people will ignore things and like they feel like it's not their place to mention. We need to hold each other accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
like
We
Kit
do.
was saying, what's the moral high ground here? If I see something that's out of character, or should that could be done better, let's say that,
Mm-hmm.
offer that suggestion. Hey, brother, hey, sister, maybe you might want to consider this. Certain people we got to a point where we so afraid to challenge someone,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because everybody is so sensitive these days. You know what I'm saying? Of their perception of what, other people think of them, that they
Mm-hmm.
lash out at anything that anyone says opposing or opposite to what they're doing. Everything that you're doing is not right. Some people say, live your best life. You know what I'm saying? They got
Mm-hmm.
this quote, live your best life, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Woo, woo, woo. But at the same time, nobody's saying, like, let's hold each other accountable.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Right.
You know what I'm
hey,
saying?
here's the more high ground from my perspective, right? If you're not taking a human life, and if you're not oppressing somebody to the point of making their lives completely miserable, then do what it is that you feel to do. But if you're doing those things, if you're taking a human life, if you're making life so miserable for somebody else, you know what I'm saying, where they can't take care of medical manner and all of these things that we have experienced as a people, right,
Yeah.
here in America. If that's what's happening, then there's a change that needs to come. You know what I'm saying? And we have to figure out how to bring about that change.
So then there's your
To
enemy right there, though, Jack.
exactly,
There's
and
your
that's what I'm
enemy
talking
right
about.
there. You know what I'm saying?
That's
If
what I'm
you
talking
if
about.
someone is taking life, human life, and
Mm-hmm.
someone is oppressing someone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those are your two enemies,
Exactly.
right? So if
Exactly.
someone outside of the race, outside of the hue, is doing that to another, hue of people,
Mm-hmm.
then that's a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Even
Yeah.
if it's the same hue doing it to each other, that's a
Right.
problem. You see what
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So
Yeah.
that's the enemy right there.
Oh yeah. Because check
Uh,
this out. Right. We talked a lot about LGBT. Right. And again, we've established that I don't agree with it. You don't agree with it. But at the same time, we're not going out and killing LGBTQ people. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? We're
Yeah.
letting them be. You
Yeah,
know
let
what
them
I'm
live, man.
saying?
You go into
If,
church right
if,
now, I bet you in many churches, the choir director is gay.
yes. Singing falsetto. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Make it
singing
sound like still a
falsetto,
baby.
clapping,
Still a
you know what I'm
baby.
saying? Clapping and
Yeah.
every church, I done
not,
been to
not
many
all of
churches.
them, man. Not all of them.
I'd have been to many churches where the choir director's gay.
I,
But I'm saying, like, you know, they have those feminine energies
a
inside
lot
of
of
them.
them. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I mean, I let them live. It's like I don't agree with the lifestyle, but it's cool, but you do your thing. But don't impose it on someone else and try to, influence
Exactly.
their children to be that way, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Indoctrinating them into becoming and to imposing upon them their impressionable minds.
Right.
That's where I draw the line. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you you could choose to do your life, and that's cool. But don't impose it on the children who are impressionable and who are trying to make a decision about which direction to go in their lives.
I agree with
You
that.
know what I'm saying? That they don't understand it fully. And now you're saying
Mm-hmm.
that, oh, okay, well, this is acceptable. This is the way they are and stuff like, no, it was,
Mm-hmm.
something that they were introduced to. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So,
So
but
that.
the energy could be a part of some people. Yeah, I get it. But the serotonin when you secrete, you know what I'm saying? The estrogen and stuff like that, some people don't develop correctly at birth. So there's the argument with that. But that's a whole totally different show with the
Yeah.
LGBT stuff. That's a
Yeah.
whole totally
Yeah.
different show. But we talking about the Black Lives Matter movement when we saying like the value of life. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
going back to the LGBT, right? The
Mm-hmm.
respect, the respect factor. Okay.
Right.
You can respect the individual person without prejudice,
Mhm.
without judgment. You know what I'm saying? As long as they're respectfully just living their lives and not imposing their whatever beliefs or whatever on someone else. You know,
Mhm.
you believe what you want to believe. I don't care. You can, live your life how you want to live it. I don't care. Do what you want to do.
Mhm.
Decide what you want to do. As long as you said, like you said, if you're not killing somebody and you're not oppressing somebody,
Right.
you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Do your thing and just be respectful. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? You can have what's that show? Medea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Medea, is it Medea? What's that guy name?
Tyler Perry.
Tyler
The
Perry.
billion Tyler Perry, dressing up like a an old grandmother. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Some would say that's homosexual. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's just what he wanted to do. He wanted to make his money that way. You know what I'm saying? It just is what
Mhm.
it is. You know what I'm
No, nigga,
saying?
Well,
that ain't no
you know,
anyway. Nigga, we had look. Flip Wilson did that shit 50 years earlier, dude. Just like keeping it
Exactly.
100
well,
fucking
no, it
years.
ain't nothing new.
It ain't
It's
new,
nothing
right?
new.
And that also, just real quick, you know, again, for those who aren't aware, we three brothers, and there's a fourth that's not with us right now, but I guess he's here in spirit. Um, we served in the U.S. Armed Forces together. We were all in the U.S.
We did.
Army, right? We were when you guys came in, this policy wasn't enforced, but while you
Right.
served, the term "don't ask, don't tell" came about,
Exactly.
right?
I remember that.
Exactly.
I'll be
Exactly.
goddamn if you didn't. Who don't
1990.
remember who don't remember Monique Harmon?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I remember Monique
Okay,
Harmon. Yeah, supply
For sure.
sergeant. Yes. Come
Yes,
on,
well,
man.
indeed.
Come on, man.
Mhm.
with Monique, right? That is
Yep.
my sister, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Exactly.
look at her as anything other than, hey, this is my sister. This
Right.
person, when I
Mhm.
went to her, always shared wisdom with me. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because she was there when I got there, and she was there when I left. And that
Yep.
sister knew her job, and she knew, it was just things. I would always talk to
Mhm.
Monique. If it was just me going down there, bum square sometimes, hey, let me go talk to, Monique, right? I
Right.
knew she was turning chicks out and, doing shit, and we would laugh and joke about stuff and everything. But I valued my soldiers that I served with as if we were a family.
That's right.
What do we call America? We were all overseas, right? I'm going back to the
Mhm.
world, right? I'm going back
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
world, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
when we were all together, nigga, we were CMB. We all we got.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
CMB, baby, we all we got, right? And then
Mhm.
also remember Digital Underground, right? Do what you like,
Do what you
Mhm.
like.
right?
Hey,
Do
Yeah.
do
check this thought
what
out, man.
you like, right? But don't
One
do
thing,
no harm. Go ahead, Jack.
I'm sorry. One thing that I learned along political lines, right, and even in the corporate world, you might have some character flaws, but that don't stop you from being able to contribute positively to your job,
Yeah,
to
look,
Right.
your
Bill
profession.
Cosby. Bill Cosby.
Bill
Exactly.
Cosby.
You know
Uh,
what I'm saying? So
I'm just
we
saying.
we bring all things into play, man. And I long thought, right, when it first came about, man, that even with President Clinton, right, how he was dispelled from office, man, and impeached because of his private life, you know what I'm saying, and sexual
Yeah, he got it.
immorality,
Yeah.
you know
He
what I'm
got it
saying? So,
in the oval.
right,
Gonna use his intern
so check this out,
like a human
right,
would
even
do.
along the lines, again, of Christianity and biblical teaching, you know what I'm saying, being gay and all of that stuff or homosexual is wrong, but that don't mean that they can't be positive contributors to society. Have a
Right.
lot of other things to offer other than their sexuality or their moral stance. You know what I'm saying? And these are things, man, that we push people away with. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
again, that's why I was saying that we have to embrace our entire community in order to be able to come together and accomplish what we need to accomplish, fighting that common enemy that we have.
Right.
And again, that is to eradicate the killing, the senseless killing within our communities, be it at our own hands or at the hands of police officers white, black, purple, blue, green, whatever. Lives matter. We have to understand that, and we have to continue to get behind that and push that. Now, also in terms of lives mattering, right? There is a behavior. So if you're teaching me destructive behavior, right, then essentially you're teaching me to kill and destroy myself. We have to think about that in terms of what we're teaching our children, like you were saying, Sean, in terms of, okay, well, I don't necessarily condone it and I don't live in it, but if it's a destructive behavior, then I need to make sure that you're not teaching my children destructive behavior.
Yeah,
Right.
we got to protect the kids, man. The kids are very important. We have
Absolutely.
to protect them at all costs and
I
let them grow up innocently. You know what I'm saying? Let
Mhm.
their innocence mature naturally. We give them so much information, so much inundated, adult things, and then force them to choose, and understand at an early age when their minds are not really fully developed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you can't impose something on a child through television programs, books and stuff you're going in school, curriculums that you're putting together in schools, policies that you're implementing by putting, restrooms and all that stuff like that. And we understand that, like, look, lives matters. We know that all lives matter, but we're trying to understand that these children are, who we're trying to protect, because ultimately it's their world. You know what I'm saying? We're
Yeah.
passing through and transitioning, but they're going to be the ones who's going to come behind us and they're going to
Mhm.
take over, what I'm saying, once we transition. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So we got to let them develop while guiding them in the right way. You know what I'm saying? Giving
Mhm.
them the proper guidance and wisdom and knowledge, and
Well,
not just feeding them all of the pleasures and things that we as adults indulge in. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's again, we're gonna have another Randy Watson moment, sexual chocolate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I believe the children are the future.
Yeah.
Teach them
Oh
well,
yeah.
let them lead the way. Right.
Yeah.
That's 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 our only role to them. Right. Jack mentioned old Paul earlier. In the New Testament. He's also attributed as writing this. You know, I'm trying to choose my words, to not offend anybody, right? But I agree with this, right? No, you're not that you run a race, right? We all running a race, right? In the race, we all striving for mastery, but you can run this race like a relay and you working as part of a team, or you can run this race as a relay and you running on your goddamn own, right? You don't care
Right.
about the rest of the team, right? So
Mhm.
in this thing, we're all supposed to be striving for mastery, not
Exactly.
mastering not mastering not mastering architecture or physics or any of the sciences. It's just self mastery. Be a master of your own self, right?
Right.
Remember, we should use a lot of acronyms back in the day, right? Especially when we would kick around, like we would have a cipher and we listening to brand newbies and all of this, and one thing that came out of that, wise intelligent, for those that weren't already hip to this, you may have heard wise intelligent, the poor righteous teacher say, I self Lord and master, right? It's right
Uh-huh.
there. I
Yeah.
I am my own self Lord and master, right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
take
Mhm.
y'all back. I don't ever want to see this movie again in my life. I would never show this movie to my kids. I don't mind if they watch it on their own. But I'm gonna take you back to Roots and the
Yeah.
scene where
Okay.
Kunta Kinte took Kizzy out and he did a moon ceremony where
Yep.
he raised
Yeah.
her up and he said, "Behold, the only thing greater than you."
Right.
That's
Mhm.
what we instill in our children, right? When we
Exactly.
have them plugged into the Netaru, right? We had them plugged into the aspects of nature that exist around them. There
Right.
is nothing greater than you, but then you're not greater than, right? So
Right.
we kind of live in a world where we're kind of forced to accept, and people of color, I think, because we are the alpha and the omega, right? Because we
Mhm.
are the all of the beautiful things Farrakhan would say it one way. I'm the alpha. What the Anyway, I ain't even gonna try to remember that bullshit right now. But where I'm going with this, where I'm going
This,
with this is that we have it in us. We have it in us. There's a certain there's an aspect of people of color that the colonizer is actually jealous of you for, right? Which
Right.
is you have a sense of divine nature already built into you. When we
Oh
mhm,
yeah.
look at predominantly black neighborhoods, right? This happened here
mhm.
in all over America, but in the mid 70s. And you guys are old enough to probably remember hearing, oh, the boat people are coming, right? Oh,
The
we have an
boat people.
influx of boat people, right? The boat people, right? We had Laotians coming to America. We had Cambodians coming to America. We had Vietnamese coming to America. Well,
Yeah.
here in Los Angeles County, where do you think they house those people? They put them
Right
right
in
in the
the hood.
projects. They put them
Yeah.
right in the projects, right? You already had projects that had Negroes living in it. So they
Right.
put
Mhm.
mobile homes in any open space, right? They moved all of those people in there, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that the blacks was like, oh man, here comes some new immigrants, we're gonna jump out here? Or he think here, Bruce Lee, I'm gonna show him, right? I'm gonna be Jim Kelly and whoop his ass, right? No,
Right.
you know what blacks did? Blacks went out and they embraced them, man. And those people,
Right.
when they got on their feet and they moved out to other cities, right? They didn't forget you. So I'm not trying to paint that image like, well, they got their shit together and then they left and left your black ass behind. I'm just speaking as far as like the openness that exists in the black community is also a
Right.
testament of your innate divinity, right? Your
Right.
innate
Mhm.
divinity, that you are divinity incarnate, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like those esteem boosters that we should be using in our speech, especially to the next generation, to keep them
Mhm.
focused on there's nothing greater than you, your own self, Lord Master. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You are divinity incarnate, right? Because then it gives them that sense of esteem, that sense
Yeah.
of pride, right? To
Yeah.
make it easier, right? That's what we're like positioned to do, is to give them a sense of pride. Now, for some,
Exactly.
it may be gay pride, right? Have a sense of pride. What is it that you're proud of you and your contribution to the world, especially for you, the world that you are developing for yourself, right? Because
Right.
Mhm.
ultimately, you was born alone, you're gonna die
You're
alone,
gonna die alone. That's
right?
right.
But
Yeah.
you're never alone. But you're
Right.
never alone. It's just in this confine of what we live in, where we're in a binary existence, right? So you're automatically forced to choose one or the other, right? And of course, the first circle, which is family, mommy and daddy, they had an idea of what they wanted you to develop into, right? I don't care if you came from two crackheads. They still had an idea of what they wanted to develop you to develop into, and it usually came by your name. It
Right.
usually came by your name. Your daddy's
Yeah.
name is Ray. Your daddy's name is Ray. Ray raised you like a father, but you got somebody else's first name. That was your mama's old flame, right?
Right.
You
Mhm.
become an adult and you realize, damn, the dude she named me after is really my father, right?
Right.
Secretly, mama knew I want the better attribute of his real daddy to be the things that are on focus in him, right? So there's like a power in naming our kids, right? There's a power in everybody's name. There's a influence and a contribution that everyone has to, this cosmic slop of America, and this big melting pot. And you guys owe it to yourselves to seek out you. You're in a world of all kind of stuff
Mhm.
around you, right? We tell you get an education, get a good job, do better than I did. Parents, each generation has passed that on to the next generation, right? But
Right.
Right.
in addition to that, there's more aspects of you really need to get to know yourself, right? Because like when we come back, on our next podcast, when we talk about toxic relationships, a lot of that shit stems from a person not knowing themselves.
Mhm.
You grew up in a
Yeah.
household where you were accustomed to your dad getting drunk, he come home, your mama jump up, she go upside his head with a rolling pin, right? And
Right.
this happens every Friday, right? And
And
so
that's
then
trauma, bro. That's trauma.
yes, yes. It depended
Yeah.
on, how which parent you polarize to. You go up to either repeat the abuse, right?
Yeah.
Or you go up to accept that kind of abuse and you think, oh well, my wife is supposed to go upside my head. And I'm just using that one because we know the opposite. The opposite is more prevalent. It's usually the dude going upside her head. But guess what?
Right.
Right.
There's abusive women out there, and abuse is more than just being physical. It actually starts with the verbal abuse, right? Which is a
Yeah.
spiritual thing. Those are things done to destroy somebody's psyche.
Mentally.
It's
Yeah.
done to, yeah, break your ass down spiritually, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at our women and we look at our men, are your words the things that you can really stand behind, right? Because again, I'm gonna take it back to the New Testament. By your words you be justified. By your words you're gonna be condemned.
Hmm.
Right.
This is that lies within the principles of Mayat, right? And
Yeah.
when we die and we go to transition and weigh in our heart on the scale of justice and the feather and that whole shebang, right?
Right.
It goes
Hmm.
into the 42 negative confessions, right? Like none of this is new, but it's like again, where's your moral compass? What is the thing that you use as a barometer to kind of gauge where your progress is in society, and that's what we pass on to the youth, right? Because
Exactly.
we see, and hey, it's not a strange thing, but we see our babies not like us.
Right.
They aren't like us. You know what I'm saying? But guess what?
No.
How many parents really, and I'm saying this as a positive. A lot of parents had to sit down and have hard discussions with their children because of social media and the things that are going on in the world around us, right? So before there
Right.
was a George Floyd, we were already having conversations on Breonna Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Before
Right.
Breonna, there was somebody else, right? And
Yeah.
this is the perception from the outsiders, which aren't they ain't always people who don't look like you. We have people that are self-sabotaging, the so-called movement, if there were such a thing. We have people in the same goddamn community that look like us that are anti-us, right? They're
Right. That's slave
anti-us.
mentality, bro.
That's that I call them Stevie, right? They just
Yeah.
like Stevie
Steven.
and goddamn, yeah,
And
Stevie
Django.
and Django, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who this uppity nigga, right?
Right.
Oh,
On that
you
horse.
sleep in the bed here. Y'all gonna have to burn them sheets tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? That
Hey,
has always existed, though, man. That has always existed. It's a funny thing. We got a lot of Uncle Ruckuses out there, right?
Man, listen.
look,
Uncle Ruckus,
it's
boy.
it's two statements I want to make, man. I think we might be getting ready to wrap up. So I want to make this statement for certain, and that is still building. We are building a better world, first building the black community. And the second statement I'll make off camera. So when we get done, let's hook
Yeah,
back
let's
up.
stay on. Right on, brothers.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah, for sure. Well, we getting towards the end, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up and close out, man. You know what I'm saying? Listen, it's been another Still Building podcast, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Where knowledge has been reborn. So like I say all the time, man, the more you know, the more you'll grow and the better off we all shall be. You know what I'm saying? So we got to continue these conversations. We got to continue, and that's what Still Building is going to be doing. So we're going to be doing and dropping the video every Saturday, every 2 weeks. So know that same bat time, same bat channel. Okay. So that's what we're going to be every 2 weeks, Saturday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Still Building Podcast live on all social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and all that stuff like that. We're going to go to Twitch and all that stuff, Patreon, all that good stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, go ahead and let's take us out. You know what I'm saying? Kid Jones, you see down there's a banner right now. You know what I'm saying? We changed the graphics and everything. We have a banner scrolling all throughout the whole episode. Y'all see the information. Y'all know the mathematics. Get with us at our social media platforms. Touch base if you want to touch base and you want to know more, you know what I'm saying, from us. We got consultations, we got knowledge base, we got information, you know what I'm saying, to share with the people coming into the chat room. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody who's in the chat room as well. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go ahead and get those questions answered like next week or next 2 weeks in our next episode. Matter of fact, we got to double back with a conversation that we had about the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And we'll have that
Right.
conversation, in our next couple of episodes, we'll go ahead and move with that topic and stuff like that from the chat room that we had that question from the chat room. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, anybody else got anything before we drop out?
Yeah, I got a quick one, real quick thing.
Go ahead, kid.
Have a nice day. Namaste and Ashe.
Yeah, I say, bro. Hotep. So, Jack, anything for the peoples before we roll?
Hey, that's it, brother.
All right,
Salute.
then. That's Still Building Podcast, y'all. Love and light. Peace. It's your man, Marefa. Dig. We out.
Wow.
Hey.